appropriation overall seems to be frowned upon. Now, I understand people want to be represented, truly represented, mostly in media and in their workplaces. And it's important for people to see themselves and hear their point of view when they're looking at plays and TV shows and movies. Watching this play, Hey Girl, Hey, just really reinforced that, again, the power of theater, where the point of view was specifically for deeply melanated Black women. And there was like a little girl in the audience and a mother who was light skinned, but she had deeply melanated children. She had children with rich complexions. And they wept and they emoted and they talked about how important it was to see this and hear this, and they wanted other people to see it. When it comes to appropriation, yeah, we're all getting our panties up in a bunch about appropriation. And I could dig it because I remember being a kid and I watched this movie with Amy Irving, and she played like a Indian princess or something, like from India. They browned her up. Why? They couldn't find an Indian woman to play this role. Surely they could have found an Indian woman to play this role and play it more authentically. The movie was called The Far Pavilions. It was an HBO movie. British officer Ashton Pelham Martin returns to India, where he had been raised by a Hindu nurse. Danger and romance follow when Ash is unexpectedly reunited with his childhood friend, Princess Anjali. I didn't imagine this. This actually happened. A fake Indian with blue eyes is so much better to look at than a real Indian, I guess is what they were thinking in 1984. So I can understand, people really seeking authenticity when it's just like you don't have to color white people up in brown roles. It's like you could find skilled actors to do this. When Black people talk about appropriation, I understand why Black people get up in arms about appropriation, because Black people come up with so much stuff and then white people take it and run and make all the money doing something that we created. So I can understand how Black people as a people group we are becoming more protective of our creations and our creativity and our intellectual property. It's like we always got to be careful with stuff like that, because when we as Black people want to delve into other things, then people are going to cry, appropriation, you can't do that. I mean, they're already doing it. Well, what about your hair? You guys appropriate hair. Well, y'all kind of forced us to appropriate with the hair thing. Is like because you've been penalizing us for our natural hair. So that don't count. Sorry, push it to the side. When I saw this Black girl doing traditional Irish dance, what we all have come to know as river dancing, but I'm sure they don't call it river dancing. This little girl is amazing. And I dare somebody come along and be like, you can't do that, Black girl. You're appropriating. You better let that girl soar and do that dance. But I have to admit, when I see white people dancing Afrobeat and doing like African dance, I kind of cringe a little bit. But I must let them get their African dance on if I want to see the young Black girl river dance. It takes all of us together to make a world. Y'all just make sure that these white people don't take your African dance and make more money doing it than you do. Who's hot here? There's this one actor who's like in everything. Cliff Curtis. Cliff Curtis is from New Zealand. I didn't even know he was from New Zealand. This dude plays everything. He plays people from the Middle East. He plays Latinos. He'll play an American, and you'll just be like, oh, he's just one of these omni-ethnic people. He can play anything. If you cut his head down, cut his hair bald, and you let him grow a goatee, you're going to think you're a brother, okay? I would hate it if somebody stopped this man from playing one of his many roles because he wasn't the specific ethnicity of the person he is portraying. This is acting, people. He's brilliant. If he can honestly portray that character, if he can get the cadence and the accent and all those things right, and he looks the part, let him have it. Margaret Cho, the comedian, back in the 90s, she had a show called All American Girl, inspired from her life, her family. She's Korean. revealing what it's like to be part of a Korean American family. And it was so funny. She got so much backlash from her own Korean community she was talking about, that because all of the actors weren't Korean. You know, it was the 90s, there was no internet. I don't know how easy it was to find Korean actors back in the 90s in America. I personally interned for a casting agency, and I remember everything was like in big file folders. There was huge file cabinets for white men and for white women. There were several of these huge file cabinets. They're super wide, about 6 feet long, 6 feet tall, and there were several of those just for the white actors. And we're not talking about LA or New York. We're talking about everybody else, Black, Latino, Asian, Middle Eastern, everybody else, Indigenous, everybody else was in this one small file cabinet. That was like maybe 5 feet tall, maybe 3 drawers, and no wider than my body. That was the rest of us. So I don't know how easy it would have been to find Korean American actors that were good for network TV back then. Oh, she got so much backlash. And it really squashed a really great show that could have paved the way for some more Korean Americans and other people groups to tell their stories. Things are changing and evolving now, and like, you know, we have so many outlets, and you know, streaming and social media have become a great equalizer. Of course, yes, there's still disparities, but it's so much more options and so many more opportunities to really tell authentic stories, and to get access to actors of all ilks and cultures and social statuses. I think we just have a problem. We have a problem with it when white people are appropriating, because white people will appropriate the rest of us at the same time as disenfranchising us. I think that is the sticking point to it, why it can't get like kind of flipped around. You know, white people just like, you know, why are you penalizing us for being white? Because you have penalized everybody else for not being white for so long. So it's like, y'all just gonna have to kind of grin and bear it. Y'all still got shit. I think they're kind of finding with white youth that because there's kind of like this backlash is like, well, you're white and straight, so you can't say anything. These kids, these teenagers are trying to find an identity that's other than white and straight to not be ostracized or shat upon by all the other people groups. So for that, I feel for you. No one should be belittled or treated poorly just for existing. But where is it appropriation versus appreciation? Where is that line? There's no easy answer for that. If you got one, please share and tell the rest of us so we can, you know, live in harmony. So you're gonna have to understand that, yeah, white folks are gonna be white folks gonna be upset. I can understand being like a have, and then you feel, and then it's just like, oh, it's slipping out of my fingers. Nobody wants to lose their VIP status. Nobody. As much as you feel sorry for all the other people that don't have, you don't want to have less in order to give them. If you are going to the club and you have VIP status, he's like, you see this long line wrapped around the block, and you know you got VIP status, that all you gotta do is go to the other side and walk through the door without all that mess and waiting. Who's gonna give that up to go wait in the back of the line wrapped around the block? Nobody.
Calm down, Miss Millie.
I'm silly. I'm the biggest one. I've always been